Every single time you cross a jurisdictional boundary, an entirely hidden, incredibly high-stakes data architecture kicks into gear. Today, in this explainer, we're going to completely deconstruct the systemic mechanics behind your foundational entry data, specifically arrival and departure records. Based on a really deep dive into anonymous expert reports, we're skipping all the generic surface-level advice. Instead, we're looking under the hood to figure out exactly how errors in these absolutely critical records are actually corrected. Or, to be a bit more accurate, we're going to look at exactly why the system is structurally designed to make fixing them so incredibly difficult. So, to make sense of this, we'll break our analysis down into four main pillars today: the verification architecture, mechanisms of systemic failure, the locus of correction, and finally, strategic remediation sequencing. All right, let's jump right into part one, the verification architecture and understanding the data divide. Okay, so the absolute core, the implicit assumption of this entire bureaucratic framework is built on a very strict separation of data powers. And right at the center of this universe is your arrival/departure record form. Now, you have to realize this isn't just a standard receipt you get for crossing a border. It is the absolute foundational data anchor. When you enter a port, this record literally generates your definitive biographic and admission status profile. It completely locks in your designated classification and exactly how long you are authorized to stay. From that precise timestamp forward, every single downstream agency, whether you're trying to get a driver's license, verify that you can work, or secure state benefits, they are entirely subjected to the precise alphanumeric sequence typed into this one singular record. It is basically the genesis point of your entire digital identity within that jurisdiction. And the core functionality of this massive bureaucracy, it relies on a rigid, hard-coded wall. It's a fundamental divide between data creation and data verification. See, the issuing authority at the port of entry, they possess exclusive right access. They generate the source data from scratch, and they hold the sole unilateral authority to actually alter it. On the flip side, you have downstream verification systems used by benefit-granting agencies, and they operate strictly on read-only permissions. They just ping the source database to pull external data, but they completely lack the systemic capability to amend, update, or overwrite those source records. No matter how glaring or obvious a mistake might be, they're structurally paralyzed. Think of them simply as a mirror reflecting the source. They literally cannot alter the image they reflect. That brings us to section 2, mechanisms of systemic failure, where we see the cascading effects of these errors. Because of that incredibly strict separation of read and write powers, a tiny, almost invisible data entry flaw can instantly become a massive structural roadblock. Let's walk through the exact anatomy of this cascading failure. Step 1, an error happens right at the source. We're talking maybe a transposed letter in your last name, or literally just a single wrong digit in a birth year typed by a fatigued official at the port. For months, this error just lies completely dormant. It's essentially a digital time bomb waiting for a catalyst. Then, step 2, you go and initiate a high-stakes benefit request with an entirely different downstream agency. Step 3, that agency's automated system pings the massive verification network. And step 4, the network detects an alphanumeric mismatch. Now here's the kicker. It doesn't flag it for human review, it simply triggers an automatic systemic denial. The entire process just halts. The foundational flaw we have to grasp here is that the bureaucracy operates on the absolute, unquestioned assumption of its own original data's infallibility. If a human adjudicator looked at a misspelled name, they might immediately go, "Oh yeah, that's just a typo." But a downstream verification database, it does not possess the capacity for nuance or context or just plain common sense. It operates purely on strict binary logic. It's either a perfect match or no match. If the data you submit today doesn't perfectly align with that flawed source data from 6 months ago, your current identity is instantly flagged as invalid. The system fundamentally assumes the source record is the ultimate truth and that your actual physical reality is incorrect. As anonymous expert reports continually stress, these massive systemic verification databases highlight a really rigid boundary. They are strictly read-only. We absolutely cannot emphasize this structural reality enough. The specific database that is spitting out the no for your application literally does not possess the digital coding or the systemic authority to fix the error that actually caused the no. Remember that mirror analogy we talked about? You can't change your reflection by trying to reach into the mirror to physically fix it. Your reflection is totally permanent until the actual source changes.
Let's move on to Section 3, the locus of correction, which is exactly where action meets authority.
So if the verification system can't fix the problem itself, we have to ask a pretty serious question. Where exactly does the burden of proof lie when systemic data completely conflicts with reality? It's a critical question, and the answer exposes the incredibly passive nature of this bureaucratic framework. The state is not proactively auditing or synchronizing these massive databases to catch their own typos. There's no magical, automated sweep looking for logical inconsistencies in your biometric or biographic data. Which means the burden of proof falls squarely and entirely on you, the applicant. Understanding this asymmetric responsibility is absolutely essential if you want expert-level navigation of the system. You have to audit the data. You bear the burden to prove the state's data is wrong. You must do all the legwork to track down the original issuing authority. And crucially, you have to realize that the benefit-granting agency you are currently standing in front of, they are not going to mediate this correction for you. There is no internal help desk linking these disparate, massive agencies together. You are entirely on your own to trace that error all the way back up the administrative chain. Because those downstream systems cannot amend data, you are forced to revert to the absolute locus of correction. If a foundational document like your arrival/departure record form was generated at a port of entry, then only the specific authority operating at that exact port, or their specifically designated deferred inspection sites, actually holds the jurisdictional keys. They are the only entities on the planet with the systemic power to open up that digital file, correct that initial keystroke error, and overwrite the old record with the verified truth. Reaching them requires deliberately stepping completely out of your current downstream process and returning right back to the exact origin point of the data. And that brings us to our final section, Section 4, Strategic Remediation Sequencing, or the critical order of operations. Knowing exactly who can fix the problem is really only half the battle. Knowing the precise sequence of operations is what actually resolves the systemic failure. And here's the thing. Our natural human instinct is highly ineffective here. Most people will just beg the current benefit-granting agency for an override, or they'll stubbornly push their application through anyway, blindly hoping that these different government mainframes are just going to magically auto-sync and resolve the conflict. Trust me, they won't. The structurally sound expert strategy is incredibly strict. You must halt your current application process entirely, return to the issuing authority, force that source data correction to happen, and only then proceed with your downstream request. If you take away literally just one actionable insight from this entire explainer, let it be this golden rule. Correction at the source must absolutely precede the initiation of any downstream verification request. Do not, under any circumstances, trigger a system check if you know or even just suspect that your foundational data is flawed. Pushing an application through with bad data doesn't just result in a temporary annoying delay. It actually logs a formal systemic denial into your permanent file, which radically complicates any future attempts to ever secure that benefit. You always correct the source first. Attempting to circumvent this specific order of operations is statistically completely futile. You have exactly a 0% chance of successfully amending an arrival/departure record by arguing with the secondary database that is merely trying to read it. Conversely, you have a 100% requirement to return to the source to actually achieve a fix. It's not a matter of finding a policy exception or getting a sympathetic clerk on the phone or escalating to a manager. It is a hard-coded binary reality of the data architecture itself. The right permissions simply do not exist anywhere else. This incredibly strict read and write divide, combined with the cascading nature of data errors, creates a systemic dependency that applicants frankly ignore at their own peril. If your entire future eligibility for various benefits is dictated by a few keystrokes made by a port official months or even years ago, we really have to ask ourselves, in an era of increasingly automated and interconnected bureaucracies, who is actually in control of your digital identity? Understanding this architecture is literally the only way to successfully navigate it. So think of it. Have you proactively validated your foundational data today?